everybody, it's Webs here, and let's augment our way to victory with Deathrattle Hunter. So the origin of me trying this deck out is the fact that I wanted to do Rat King Hunter using Monstrous Parrot as a way to get more Rat Kings. However, that felt kind of bad, so I ended up scrapping it, even though the Defias Fish Blasters felt really good to actually play. And then I was like, what other ways could I abuse Monstrous Parrot in Hunter? And the first thought was Dark Moon Taunt, but I don't have Vander, so that was out of the window. And then I remembered Augmented Porcupine is a card, which is what gave birth to this deck. So the Mulligan guide for this deck is kind of straightforward. You want to keep Selective Breeder in your opening hand no matter what. This will allow you to have access to any of the 3 beasts that you actually run in the deck. And if you don't already have a Augmented Porcupine, you go for the Augmented Porcupine. But if you do have an Augmented Porcupine also in your opening hand, go for the Monstrous Parrot instead of the Selective Breeder. Augmented Porcupine is the second card that you always want to keep in your opening hand. You need one of these cards to actually do most of your combos. The sooner one of these can actually die, the better off you're going to be. Shandho Wildclaw is also another card you always want to keep in your opening hand. This just makes all your beasts in your deck bigger automatically, which means you get a bigger Deathrattle through the Augmented Porcupine or the Monstrous Parrots or even the Lions. Other cards that are good to keep in your opening hand are cards that will allow you to cycle through your deck a little bit faster, such as Scavenger Integrity or Tracking. You also want to keep cards like Demon Companion just so you have a turn 1 play. The only cards that I would say don't keep in your opening hand is the Lions. This is probably one of the most awkward cards in the deck to actually use just because Monstrous Parrot is actually better than the Lions. However, you're going to keep using them anyways. Dire Frenzy depends on if you have a Augmented Parrot in your opening hand along with a Selective Breeder. If you have a Selective Breeder and an Augmented Porcupine in your opening hand, Dire Frenzy is pretty good to have in your hand, but for the most part I wouldn't recommend it. With that being said, let's get into some games. Alright, time for a game against Mage. Going to definitely get rid of the Lion and the Dire Frenzy since we have no targets. Drawing to a Scavengers, which is pretty good. Though the aim shot is kind of bad per se. Just because usually I like to use it as removal instead of just face damage. But being able to do 5 additional face damage is pretty good against Mage, I guess. Drawing to a second aim shot. Getting the charge minion off of the Demon Companion. Their quest line, who would have thought? It gets nerfed and people are still playing it. Drawing our Parrot, which literally does us nothing so far. Though having the War Song Rancher is actually pretty good. Or Wrangler, I think it's called. Drawing into a Porcupine. That is actually really good. I should have just played the Porcupine down. Oh well. We're going to see what we can get off tracking, getting a Selective Breeder. And then grabbing a Parrot, just so we have 3 instead of 2. We're going to trigger part of their quest line, just no shock. Drawing into the Wild Claw, pretty good. Though it sadly doesn't affect the parrots in our hand right now. I think this game I was worried about the Porcupines getting devolved missile, which is why I didn't play the Porcupine as soon as humanly possible. Because there were quite a few games, for some weird reason, where a Mage was running devolving missiles, and it didn't cost me the game because I had additional copies of the Porcupine. But it's such a weird case to actually ever be in. Since Mage is one of the only classes that can actually easily deal with the initial Porcupine Deathrattle. Drawing another Selective Breeder. Grabbing a 4th Parrot. Buffing up all the Parrots in the deck, probably. Now we have all the Parrots in our hand, with no Porcupines triggered yet. Drawing into the second Porcupine, and then we're going to kill theirs to hope it triggers ours, but it doesn't. They have another Ice Barrier. Now all we need is them to kill our Porcupine, and then we have like 30 damage in our hand. And because they're questline mage, they're not going to have many minions to actually eat up the quills. Come on, kill the porcupine. No, you wanna. We're going to play the questline reward, which allows us to kill our porcupine really easily. Going to play parrot number 1, parrot number 2. I almost wanted to run Baron Rivendare in this deck. I ended up not doing it just because I thought it would be too much of a win more card. Gotta deal with our parrots or you're dead. But knowing mage, they can probably easily deal with both of them. Yep. Well, good news for us, we still have 2 more. Alright, time for parrot number 3 and number 4. So we have 2 damage in hand plus 4 damage with hero power. So if they can kill both of our parrots here, we will be 1 off of lethal. But they're mage, so they can't heal. And they're going to kill both of the parrots. Drawing to a quick shot actually just gives us lethal. Like, hilariously enough, that just gives us lethal. Gonna choose the explosive trap just for shits and giggles. Alright, time for a game against Warrior. Wild Claw being in the opening hand is actually really awesome. Gonna mulligan away the other 2. Probably should have kept the Demon Companion, but doesn't even matter because we got it again. And then we got a Lion, which is bad. Drawing into the second Demon Companion. Turns out, if you want to draw into a card, just mulligan away. Getting the charged minion again. Their questline, that's not really a shock. Selective Breeder, that's really good for a turn 2 play. Gonna draw the Porcupine. Honestly, I think this is the best deck that I've ever made with Wild Claw in it. This is definitely a deck where it feels really nice to actually play for once. We're going to do normal questline shit. We're going to give all our beasts 1/1. We're going to clear out our minion, drawing into the second porcupine. Going to put that one down, see what we get off Animal Companion, or Demon Companion, I mean, getting another charge. What are the chances they can actually deal with the porcupine this turn? Oh, I guess pretty high. Pretty high indeed. Question is, how many Deathrattles does it take to kill Questline Warrior? Selective Breeder, that's actually a really good draw that will get us a parrot no matter what. Come on, select the parrot. Yeah. Playing another Porcupine. They play a Anchorman. They're going to probably kill the Porcupine, which is fine. We have our parrot in our hand. See, this is the reason why I almost wanted to cut out the lions out of the deck. But I wanted some type of third beast in the deck, and I didn't feel like cutting out the lions would be that big of a disadvantage. Drawing into the Devouring Swarm is actually really funny. Just because we can play the parrot, which gets us 1 Deathrattle, and then play the Swarm and maybe get a parrot back or a Selective Breeder. That's actually pretty good, which gets us another parrot anyway. Set another parrot. I guess my past self wanted to actually trigger the lions for once. Actually, this might not be that bad. We can play 1 and 1. They draw into a Sword Eater. Actually, choosing the Porcupine there was actually probably a better decision. Normally it isn't, but for that it was. We're going to clear out our board. And now for Deathrattle number 3, 4. And that kills their board. And as long as they don't kill our last Porcupine, we should get another Deathrattle if they play another Pirate on board. And we can actually play a Parrot on top of that. We're going to play Mr. Smite to get rid of our Porcupine as quickly as possible. But that means their Smite is going to be instantly dead. I really wouldn't have done that if I was him. Drawing into an aim shot. That's actually really funny. And going to play the Parrot. Just because the Parrot isn't guaranteed direct damage. So if they do play their questline reward, I'd rather have the Parrot out this turn and then have the hero power next turn. Are they Menagerie questline? Hate to tell you this, bud, but that deck is not good. Or I haven't at least had any luck with it. Gonna play the parrot. Hopefully some will hit the face, but nope, it's going to hero power. The bad news is we're out of parrots. The good news is we still have enough damage in our deck to actually probably do something. I guess this is going to be their big swing turn. Devouring Swarm would have been good, like, I don't know, 2-3 turns ago. Going to get the line back and just keep charging. The good news is I don't have to worry about the Mr. Smite. Bad news is we're getting really, really low on HP. Scamp should draw them into some type of pirate. A Cannoneer, which is a pretty good type of pirate. 2 of them in particular is pretty good. I think they're 1 off of lethal here. Yep, and we draw into quick shot. Oh, the top decks. Oh, the top decks. Alright, time for a game against Druid. Like always, going to keep the selective breeder. Keeping the don't feed the animals just because we can easily trigger it off of our choice from selective breeder. Thinking about coining out the selective breeder, but decided against it. They're going to buff up their taunt. Drawing into the parrot. So all we need is a porcupine and we have literally full combo here. And the great thing is the porcupine will automatically trigger the corrupt on the feed the animals. Though if I do have a way to actually kill that oracle as soon as humanly possible, that's what I'm going to do. Quick shot, but that's not really enough. That oracle is going to get annoying really quickly. Alright, going to play the rifle, get explosive trap. That's literally the only thing keeping us in the game. And then end our turn. So here they should realize that I do have explosive trap, but they're going to probably attack anyways. We're going to kill our minion first, which actually helps us out a lot more. Sure, it's not a full board clear, but it's pretty close. They're going to play a squirrel, which is fine. And a Noitron, which is annoying, but also kind of fine. We're going to see what we get here. Explosive traps, a savior, like always. Use our coin to get a big parrot out. Puts them all in the range of our explosive trap, unless they have a arbor up. We're going to kill our parrot, I guess. I mean, that's the correct decision, kill the parrot, right? It's not like we actually need the parrot to actually live here. Why would you attack here if you thought it was going to be explosive trap? A Park Panther, okay. We have no easy way to actually deal with that. I mean, we technically do by just playing one of these, then attacking into it. We're now up on card advantage too. And we do have a shit ton of base damage just in our hand. Gonna coin out, grabbing the Demon Companion, killing the 2/3, getting a taunt off of Demon Companion, and then just doing that to their minion. Because now they're going to have to attack with the minion and they lose the minion in the process. Alright, we drew a parrot off of our scavengers. There's definitely a correct play and a greedy play here. Getting the rush, going to kill the 2/2, and then just do a bunch of damage with the hero power. The nice thing about them playing a lot of 1 HP minions, higher the chance that our quills actually do something against them. Like that. And now we play the lion with no Deathrattle, but we should win. Drawing into don't feed the animals, just going to use it right away so we can draw an additional card. Kill their minion. Devouring Swarm would have been good a turn earlier, but oh well. And we win. Alright, now that we're through the games, let's discuss how well the deck did and why I built the deck the way I did. So the deck actually performed incredibly well, which was quite a shock because I didn't expect it to do anything. Because most people are focusing on the Vander variant of the deck, which I don't actually have access to, so I couldn't do that. Instead, I decided to focus more on the beast support route with the deck, and by doing so, I discovered something kind of interesting with the augmented porcupines and the monstrous parrots. So at first thought, you would think, oh, copy the augmented porcupines with your dire frenzy. But why would you do that over the monstrous parrots? The monstrous parrots give you the Deathrattle instantly compared to the porcupines, which give you it in like a turn or two. So soon after I started playtesting this, I actually started targeting the monstrous parrots with the dire frenzy instead, and that actually made the win rate of this deck actually skyrocket, which is actually pretty cool. This deck also has a bunch of cards that you can use for removal for your opponent's minions, or to just do face damage through the cards of Aim Shot, Quick Shot, and Scrap Shot, all of which allow you to either buff up your hero power, draw an extra card if you really need it, or buff up a beast in your hand. The only card that I would maybe consider cutting out of this deck is the Mulligan Lions. These cards just feel like a worse parrot. That's the honest truth about them, and it's kind of sad to say, but I didn't know which third beast I wanted to include over them, so they ended up staying. And there are situations where having a minion with rush that has the Deathrattle is actually pretty important, just because then you can do twice the damage to your opponent and clear out something on the board. But that didn't always come up, and that's why I would consider actually cutting these. The card that's actually a really funny inclusion in the deck, which most people might not think of actually including, is Devouring Swarm. If you use Devouring Swarm, you can actually just get your Deathrattle off of some of your minions, along with being able to just attack your opponent's face if they have some type of big minion on the board that's doing double the damage with any of your Deathrattle minions, or being able to get a additional Deathrattle off of the Battlecry of Parrot, which is actually pretty insane. I was actually quite happy in the end with how this deck turned out. If you're looking for a cool, interesting hunter deck, this is definitely one to try out. It's worth actually trying it. I ended up going 9 and 5 with the deck, which is something that I didn't expect to actually do, but it was quite fun to actually play, and actually had quite a good matchup against a lot of the actual meta relevant decks currently in standard, which was a huge surprise for me when I was playtesting this. I honestly just didn't expect it to do as well as it did. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, bye bye.